Welcome to part 2 of retiming your ZSK embroidery machine. For this video, we're going to focus on retiming the rotary hook. We're going to start where we left off in the last video, where we retimed the needle bar. Picking up where we left off in the last video, we're going to start by inserting our embroidery needle. Once it's in the correct position, we're going to take our 1.5 millimeter Allen key and tighten it on the side. Next, we're going to prepare the rotary hook to be inserted in the bottom shaft. To do so, we want to make sure that the sharp point here, also called the pick, is pointed upright. We also want to make sure that below the pick, there is a gap. To do so, we can rotate the bobbin casing, so that way the gap here is about 4 o'clock. It is now ready to be inserted in the bottom shaft of the machine. Now that the rotary hook is inserted, we want to make sure that the main shaft is in the needle rise position. Here you can see our machine is in 205.2. If your machine is not in the position, please refer back to video 1 to see how this is done. We can now turn our W head on and lower the presser foot. Make sure that when reinserting the rotary hook, you press the whole way back against the shaft. We will later drop the needle down, and we want to make sure that the rotary hook is not in the way of the needle. Now that the rotary hook is in position and the machine is in the needle rise degree, we can disengage the clinker and press down on the mechanism, and you'll hear it latch down here on the second position. This is where we want the needle to be in place. Reaching underneath the machine, you'll be able to adjust the position of the rotary hook, and you want to have the point of the pick to be directly behind the center of the needle. So right about there looks good, perfect. We then want to take a slip of paper and position it right in between the pick and the needle. This is the spacing that you want to achieve between the pick and the needle. Once this is done, we can go underneath the rotary hook and tighten the screws underneath. Now that we've tightened the first screw, we want to go back to our key 8 and release the brake. We can then go underneath and tighten the second screw. We are now going to insert the thread brake pin. We want to make sure when we replace it, the round side is up. One side, and make sure the end of it gets through this hole here. And right into the pin. Perfect. While we have the brake open, we can start by replacing our stitch plate. To do so, we're going to slide the stitch plate back underneath into position, and we're going to begin to re-screw the 2 screws back in. We're going to make sure not to screw them the whole way in, because we want to be able to shift around to adjust to the needle. So I'm going to slightly screw them in, the second one in. Just like so. You'll see now that I can wiggle the stitch plate around. We can then rotate the shaft to about 130 degrees. This will drop the needle down and place it into the needle plate hole. We will then lower the presser foot, and then we can disengage our clinker, and then bring the mechanism down so it clicks into place. We can now adjust the stitch plate so that way the hole is centered with the needle. Once it is, we can then tighten the screws. and that's done. And we can raise the needle bar back up so that way the needle's out of place. We can then move the presser foot back up. Now we can go and replace the arm on the rotary hook. We first want to make sure that this space is facing up. And then we can take this little finger on the arm here and fit it in between this space. We want to make sure that there's about a millimeter space between the back of that space and the finger on the arm. Once that's in place, we can go ahead and tighten the screws. We'll also bring back the second screw and screw that one in. We now want to go ahead and reset the main shaft bar to 63.9 degrees. And then lock it in place. Now that we are done retiming the machine, we can go ahead and replace all of the plates on the JGVA. Thanks for joining us for part 2 on how to retime your ZSK embroidery machine. Look out for more maintenance videos on ZSK machines on our website at zskacademy.com. Thanks.